Friends, today let's try to understand what mining is. We all have heard that it is related with solving a puzzle. Let's try to understand what it actually means. In blockchain, when we are talking about mining, let's try to understand the structure of a block first. In a block, we have the content. Like here, I have shown A $50, B $80, A to B $20, then A is left with 30. It's some any message or any content that is there, and then there is a hash which comes out of the content. Just to give you a brief about hashing, what hashing is, when we run a hashing algorithm on any content, it gives the resulting hash, and unless there is any change in this content, the hash will remain the same. So just to reiterate, it is easy to use an hashing algorithm to achieve a hash by running the hashing algorithm on any text, whereas it is extremely difficult to do the reverse. If we have the hash, it's almost impossible to reach back to the text. So the hashing algorithm that is used in blockchain technology is SHA-256. So now when a miner gets a block, he gets a block when there is a transaction made in the network. So there is a transaction done in the network, there are multiple miners sitting across, everybody wants to confirm the transaction first to get some fees as a result. So let's see what we mean by confirming the transaction. So when we say confirming, what person has to do? One is he has to ensure that the transaction, suppose the transaction was A to B $20. So the miner has to ensure that the A had $20 and this is an authentic transaction. This is one. And the second thing the miner has to do is he has to generate a hash. Once he does these things, he will put this block on the network, from where all the other miners will update their ledgers. Now there is a little bit of complexity to it. Where is the puzzle part? The puzzle part is the hash that has to be generated. It has some predetermined initial numbers. For example, it is predetermined that the first 4 digits of the hash should be, let's say, 0000. Now I'll introduce another part of a block which is called nouns. So there is a nouns in the block which is set by the miner. For example, 1 2 3 4 5. This nouns is set by the miner, and when calculating the hash, instead of taking hash of only the content, he has to hash the nouns as well. And he has to set the nouns in such a way so that the leading 4 digits are 0000, which is a sufficiently complex problem, and this is what the puzzle means. So as soon as the miner is able to authenticate this data and set the nouns in such a way that he gets the initial part of the hash as a particular digits, he would put it on the network. So in simple terms, this is what mining means. I'll also talk a little bit about more about hashing. One of the practical usages of hashing is in saving passwords. If I save the password in a database, any hacker who drills into your database, who reaches your database, can actually access your passwords, which is kind of not acceptable. So what is done is, the password, whatever the password is, let's say password 123, one of the common passwords that people generally keep. So programs, what programs do is, they would run a hashing algorithm on the password, generate a hash, and save that hash in the database. So even if somebody gets the hash, knowing the property of the hash, we cannot generate the message back, the text back. So this gives a lot of advantage. Anyways, going back to the mining stuff, let us see what advantage or disadvantage mining has. Why this concept of mining has been introduced. Why it is not kept as simple as just verifying whether this is a valid entry or not and then putting the block onto the network. Why to unnecessarily add this complexity? So to understand this, we need to know how a blockchain works. So principally, blockchain is based on the consensus mechanism, where I have different miners sitting at their own places, authorized miners. They would authorize a particular transaction, and based on that, everybody, if suppose this miner puts in a block, approves a transaction, then rest of these will update it. In case 50% of the people make any change, say they make the change incorrectly, then because of the consensus, these 4 people will be considered as a correct entry, and these 2 people will be considered as a I mean, even though they are right, their data will get overwritten. So this introduction of all this complexity of mining makes it very difficult for a single individual to get hold of 50% of the mining blocks, servers, and resolve the problem from all these perspectives together, and then get control of more than 50% of the network. So this is the reason this complexity has been introduced, so that nobody can easily change the content of or easily take control on the blockchain. Talking about the disadvantage, this consumes a lot of power in blockchain. In the cryptocurrency mining thing, we all have heard about large mining farms. So what they are doing, they are trying to do this faster before anybody else could do. Some of the biggest farms are consuming electricity as large as some of the entire country's electricity consumption. So this is a big problem with the blockchain technology. There are some upcoming technologies which takes care of this problem. I'll be talking about them in the next session, and I would, if you like the video, if you think this has been of use, kindly like, subscribe and share. The objective of this video is to give you some snapshots of the upcoming technologies at very high level broadly, so that whenever standing in a group, you can behave in a way, or you can showcase yourself as if you have some basic concepts or basic ideas clear on the technology. Thank you so much. Have a great day.